Hey folks, welcome back to the shop here at the farm. I got a few hours this afternoon to get back on our barbecue out here that we've been building. So we're going to get the wood stove fired up here and we're going to get to work on this thing, so stick around. So first things first, our tires would not stay aired up. So we pulled both tires off, took them to town, got them fixed so we can put the tires back on first. Got our tires back on. Next thing we can do is start on our smokestack. If you remember, this is shorter than what we want to end up with. So took my other piece of pipe downtown, I cut it to length. I cut it 30 inches. And then I've had these pieces here cut out for our smokestack. These are going to go on here like this. There'll be one for this tube and one for the top tube. And then we'll put a hinge here where the smokestack will fold over backwards, and we cut it so it doesn't hit the firebox when it comes down. So we can start putting these plates on and get our other piece of smokestack on. Okay, we got the bottom collar welded on. We've got the top collar clamped. So we'll throw our pipe up there and get it centered on there. We'll get it tacked. Got our two flanges welded on. So what we did now is we've cut a piece of our hinge material and we're welding a hinge on here so the thing can flop down. So we'll get that welded on and then we can open and close this thing. Okay, there's our folding smokestack. Looks pretty good. We're probably going to make a little cradle down here that'll hold this out at the right distance. Keep it from rattling around too. And then we're also going to put a cam lock up here to lock this thing up. I don't want it to be bumped and that thing come over and whack somebody in the head, because that'd probably end your life right there if that hit you in the head. The next thing we're going to do is we have our barbecue thermometers that came in. I'm going to drill a hole for those to go through the door. And then we have these pieces of pipe that will act as a protector for the gauges. You can see the gauges fit inside here. So once we get the gauges mounted, we'll get this pipe. We'll mount it around the gauge to keep the gauge from getting knocked off if it gets hit by something. So let's drill some holes. Got both of our holes drilled out 13/16, so the gauges fit now. So now we got to take our protector rings. See how they're not contoured to the barbecue. So we'll have to put grind it out on two sides here a little bit to get it to sit flat. And then we'll clean those up and then we'll get those welded on there. Got our protector rings on and got our gauges all in there. We're not going to leave them in there because we still got a lot of welding and stuff to do. So we'll put those back in the box. But we only welded them on the outside. We left the outside, or inside, we left the outside nice and clean. So now I think I'm going to work on a handle. For our handle, we're just going to use a horseshoe and a piece of pipe. We're going to cut the horseshoe in half and use it for the ends. And that should do it. That's basically it right there. Just got to weld these ends up and then we'll take it over and weld it on. Got our handle put on. Pretty sweet. Very nice. So the next couple things we need to do is we need to cut a hole in our smokestack for the smoke to be able to go out. And then we're also going to put a plate in here in the bottom. Some people had some questions after the last video as to why we would put the smokestack on the same side as the firebox, that the heat and the smoke won't go through. Well, there's going to be a plate right above the outlet of the firebox right here that goes all the way through the bottom of this cooker, and it's going to end about here. So all of your heat and your smoke's got to come all the way through, and then it's going to roll up around and come back through and then eventually go out. So the reason we do that is so we don't get a hot spot down here by the cook chamber like the offset smokers do, because you got hotter over there and it eventually cools off and then goes out the smokestack. This side of the cooker won't cook as high as that side. So this, what we're doing with the reverse flow, is it should even out the heat of the cooking chamber. So we're going to see you in the morning because it's getting late. We're going to go in and have supper. We'll be back out here again tomorrow. Well, good morning, folks. It's chilly. We're back in the shop trying to get this thing warmed up. So I think the first thing we're going to do this morning is we're going to cut our hole in our stovepipe here. Get that done. I think we'll use the plasma for that, so we'll get that over here. Got our exit cut. Now we kept it low in the chamber because we want the smoke to bank down in the chamber. That's why we didn't cut it really up high up here. That'll cause the smoke to sink down a little bit. So now let's start thinking about our plate down here. We're going to get all this cleaned up underneath here, get all that vacuumed up first. Got our template made out. This isn't going to be our actual piece of steel because I think this one's too thin. I'm going to get the piece of 10 gauge from downtown. But this will make for a good pattern once we get that. And then once we get a good fit up there, we'll taper the sides. So this side of the sheet will be just a hair narrower, not much, than that side. That way we've got a little slope down this way, just very gradual. And then this is going to be our grease drain right here, this hole in the middle. The other two holes we're just going to get pipe plugs to put in. So we'll have a pipe that goes from the center of this down through that hole for our grease drain. So our grease, once it drips, will drain to the middle and then go down that hole. So I need to find another piece that I can cut for a template on this side. I think I got a piece that's got some holes in it that might work, but let's get a piece and try. Well, it doesn't look like we have a piece, but this one's pretty straightforward. It's got no angles or anything. It's just a straight piece other than the taper. We'll do the same taper here. We'll cut it maybe, I don't know, 1/2 inch shorter on either side so it sits down like this. But no problem there. We'll just wait on that. So the thing we can do now is we need some angle iron supports in here for our grill. So our grill will actually slide on that angle iron. So let's get those cut and we can get those installed. Since this is going to be a 2-piece floor, we can slide the pieces in underneath those. Got our pieces of angle iron cut. We're using our level and square to put these in. We want to make sure we're square with the front of the tank, and we want to make sure we're level front to back. The barbecue's already level, so we are dead on right there. So we'll get some tacks on this one, and then we'll do the same over here. Okay, that does it for our rack supports. Those are in, perfectly square and level. So now we can measure how big our rack is going to be. We can buy that material tomorrow, and we can make our rack actually to go in here. And then we'll order our plates, because I'm sure we won't be able to do those while we wait. Usually on the shearing they take a couple days. But we'll measure these ports too, so I know what size plugs to get for those. So I think what we can do now is maybe work on our table out here. We're going to have a little table just below the door. So as our rack slides out, that table will actually support the rack once it gets out here. But we need to make it a little bit lower because there's going to be about a 3/4 inch. Depends on what we put on top. I may just go with expanded metal on the top, and that would make it real easy. I wouldn't have to go very low. But we'll decide. Got our table pieces cut. We just put a piece of square tube on our grate support there. And then we got a 1-inch piece of wood between here and the bottom of that. So we're down 1 inch exactly. So if we put 3/4 inch of a wood on there, we're still going to clear everything. So we've got it square with the side of the smoker here. So we'll get this welded on. We'll do the same thing on the other side. And then we'll put a piece across the end here as well. We've got our outside piece cut. We cut it to the inside measurement right here. So it meets corner to corner. We can get a good weld down the side here. And then we're also going to cut this square out of the top so it'll sit inside of this. And then we're going to cut down 1 thickness of material here so we get another good weld right here on this corner so we can sand it off nice and smooth. And we did that on both sides. So we'll get these cut out. We'll get this tacked on, welded, and cleaned up. Corner's all set up. We'll have plenty of penetration all the way around that. Let's get her welded in. Okay, our side table is done other than putting the wood on the top. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to put some hooks on the side to hang some tools on. And we'll do pieces of horseshoe for that too, maybe 3 on each side. Got our little horseshoe hooks on here. So I think we're done here for now. So let's go up and let's try to make our little latch for the stovepipe. Well, folks, that was quite a process. We didn't film a lot of it because there was a lot of trial and error. But that's what it looks like now. We just use a clevis up there with welded a pin to that top pipe. Made a cam lock here. So that just locks on there. That goes down. I angled the handle out a little bit so you could get a hold of it. It wasn't right next to the pipe. But that'll do the job. I just realized this video is probably going to come out Christmas Day. Hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas here from Markelly Farm. And we hope you have a fantastic New Year as well. I know we are. The old barbecue's coming together real nice. So I got to get together a cut list for the grate on the inside and those plates. So we can take that in tomorrow and get those pieces bought. Next time we're back on this, we'll be putting those plates in, building the grill. That'll be cool. And then we have to start working on the lower part of the trailer. We're going to put a storage area down there for some wood with some expanded metal and some angle iron and all that. So we should be able to get all of that done in the next episode, and then we'll be ready for paint. But we'll fire it up first. Hope you've enjoyed the continuation of this project. I sure have. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come on back to the farm.